Hello, my name is Calie Donovan. I've always really considered myself a Christian. I always grew up in a Christian home with parents that were involved with the church, but looking back, when I see myself, the reason that I called myself a Christian was for the title of it, not because I had a relationship with God. Because in my eyes, I always felt that I could call myself a Christian and believe in God and know that I'm saved, but that I could live this lifestyle, that I could just do it whatever I wanted. And, at first it was, what I wanted was to go to church and to be around people that wanted to be there. And, the people that I hung out with, all my friends would go to church. And after a while, that just wasn't what I wanted, and I knew that God still loved me and that whatever I did, that God was going to forgive me for, because, what else did I have to lose? So when I got into high school, it became more of a priority in my life to go to parties and to try to fit in as much as possible. And by my junior year in high school, I had completely stopped going to church in general. I got into the lifestyle that I would hang out with whoever I wanted to, and as long as somebody was talking about me and somebody knew my name, that I was happy. And every weekend I was at a party, and I looked at myself as I was life of the party. I would drink as much as I possibly could, and just that was how I was happy though. And my junior year, I thought I had it all. Homecoming came around, and I was voted junior class princess, and I just, at that point I was at a high, and I thought that my life was just so great. But in February of my junior year in high school, everything kind of started to change. I didn't feel happy with what was going on in my life anymore. It wasn't satisfying. The things that I had weren't making me happy. I didn't want to be that person anymore, and I didn't really know what to do. I didn't know where to turn, and I was just so confused at that point that, it was close to spring break, and I went to Arizona to stay with my cousin, because, my thoughts were, maybe if I get into a new place, in a new situation, maybe I'll start to feel better. I went to Arizona to visit my cousin, expecting that I could go down there and party with her, that her and I drinking together with a different group of people, maybe that would make it okay. But when I got there, it was not what I expected at all. My cousin shows up at the airport to pick me up, and she's talking to me about this relationship that she had with God. How, this guy that I've always known my whole life, who's always been a part of my life, but never a big part in my life, that it was her life. I got to see firsthand what it was like to be around people who love God, to be around a church who is always with God. The people that my cousin hangs out with are people who go to Bible study on Friday nights. They don't have to go to a party to be happy. They hang out with each other, and they don't have to worry about being judged, because they have so much faith, and they are so close within each other because they're all of God. And it was just such an eye-opener to me that, God was opening my eyes. I was so wrapped up in sin. I loved the drinking, and I gave in to lust and temptations all the time, and I look back on them, and it makes me laugh, because God lets you do whatever you need to at the time, but He's always going to catch you when you're ready. He's a gentleman. He's not just going to take you and make you give up all the things that you want, because that's not how it works. You need to want Him. And when I finally got to the point of where I wanted a relationship with Christ, that I actually wanted to have something with Him, I came back to Colorado, and when I told my friends that I didn't want to party anymore, and that I wasn't going to live that lifestyle with them, at first they thought it was a joke. And as I began to get more serious and seriously involved with it, they, in a way, they disowned me. My prom date told me he didn't want to take me to prom anymore. That hurt, I'm a girl. My heart kind of broke a little bit there. But, I had a God who loved me more than any guy possibly could. And I knew that was okay. And the thing that really got to me, I think, was when my own teammates began to talk about me and how much I had changed and how they didn't want to be around me. And then, people would walk up to me and be like, they're talking about you. They're talking about, oh, that Calie girl? Yeah, I don't know what's going on with her anymore. She's not the same. People in class would hand me notes talking about Satan and how the devil was with me. And, I kind of brushed it off. I laughed about it. But it got to me, It did hurt my feelings. And I didn't know what to do. And I called my cousin up, and I was just, really just stressed about it because I knew that what I was doing was right, but there was something that was just why, I don't understand why these people are acting this way. Why can't they just be happy for me? Why can't they just give this a try too, And my cousin told me a verse. It's in 1 Peter chapter 4. So then, since Christ suffered physical pain, you must arm yourself with the same attitude he had, and be ready to suffer too. For if you are willing to suffer for Christ, you have decided to stop sinning, and you won't spend the rest of your life chasing after evil desires, but you will be anxious to do the will of God. You have had enough in the past of the evil things that godless people enjoy, their immorality and lust, their feasting and drunkenness and wild parties, and their terrible worship of idols. Of course your former friends are very surprised when you no longer join them in the wicked things they do, and they say evil things about you. But just remember that they will have to face God, who will judge everybody, both the living and the dead. I read that verse, and automatically it hit me. I was like, you know what? All of these people, they don't understand because they're of this world. And God is transforming my heart. So, of course, my actions are going to change, and they might not understand that, but I know that something is going to happen, and I know that it's going to be good. And ever since then, I feel that God's really been working on me. I feel a purpose in my life that I'd never felt before. One that I can't really even explain. Something that's so powerful inside me that I feel God's going to use me. God's going to use me to make a huge difference. And God's already using me in that sense. I've tried to step up within my youth group, and I've stepped up within other churches as well. I kind of took over running the first priority group at Eagle Crest High School. The first day that the club happened, we had 15 students, and we've gotten all the way up to 60 at a time. It's a big deal, and there are still days where, even this last week, on this last Wednesday morning, that somebody walked up into the group, handed a note that had the sign of the devil on it, trying to bring us down. But that just shows, God's opening the heart of our school. He's getting the word out there, and it's amazing to see, And more recently, somebody who was a huge inspiration to me, as well as hundreds of other people, Sean Yoho, passed away. And a lot of people don't understand it. I know I sure don't. It's hard to see. It's hard to understand why God would take somebody's life away who's doing so much good. And I think that obviously his death is going to bring greatness. And, it's just, I don't know, it really inspired me to step up more. And I feel that, if anything, God, in a way, used that to open my eyes up to see that I could make as big of an impact as well. I am Calie Donovan, and I am second.